Hello, YouTube. This is an odd way to go live for me, or different, not odd, just different. Um, Give me a second here. Only because I'm doing something new for the first time. One minute here. Okay, so I'm learning a new application here. I don't know how this is supposed to work. I'm trying with it. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to get good at it eventually in time. I don't know if it is, I feel like it is lagging. I feel like it's not the best quality for certain things. So please just bear with me. Bear with me here. Bear with me. Bear with me. As I try to figure this thing out. I don't know how my volume is sounding. I don't know if my speaker levels are good. So let's just see what I can do with this new setup that I'm working on. Anyway, YouTube. Anyway. Um I'm gonna do my best. Every day there is, you guys know how it is when you are in this world. All right. Maybe some people don't know really what it's like, just because I have a light here, because I have to rework basically everything that I've been doing, because I'm using new platform, new situation, new everything. Um, I look tired on here. I'm not tired. So anyway, anybody who is new here, I am constantly going through something. There's always something. I want to talk today about very specifically what you have to go through as a TI. Actually, let me hear my volume for a second. Here, I am constantly going through something. Okay, my volume sounds good. All right, that's all I care about. Bear with me. I don't know how this video is gonna go. I'm just gonna do my best because I'm using a new platform. You know, let's just go with it. So today I'm gonna start with a Bible verse, as I always do. This is Luke chapter 20. I've been getting New Testament chapters lately. So chapter 20, it says, Jesus' authority questioned. And it came to pass that on one of those days, as he taught the people in the temple and preached the gospel, the chief priests and the scribes came upon him with the elders and spake upon him, saying, Tell us, by what authority dost thou these things? Or who is he that gave thee this authority? And he answered and said unto them, I will also ask you one thing, and answer me. The baptism of John, was it from heaven or of men? And they reasoned with themselves, saying, If we shall say from heaven, he will say, Why then believeth ye him not? And if we say of men, all the people will stone us, for they be persuaded that John was a prophet. And they answered that they could not tell whence it was. And Jesus said unto them, Neither tell I you by what authority I do these things. Then began he to speak to the people this parable. A certain man planted a vineyard and let forth to husbandmen, and went into a far country for a long time. And at the season he sent a servant to the husbandmen, that they should give him of the fruit of the vineyard. But the husbandmen beat the servant and sent him away empty. And again he sent another servant, and they beat him also, and entreated him shamefully, and sent him away empty. And again he sent a third, and they wounded him also, and cast him out. Then said the Lord of the vineyard, What shall I do? I will send my beloved son. It may be they will reverence him when they see him. But when the husbandmen saw him, they reasoned amongst themselves, saying, This is the heir. Come, let us kill him, that the inheritance may be ours. So they cast him out of the vineyard and killed him. What therefore shall the Lord of the vineyard do unto them? He shall come and destroy these husbandmen, and shall give the vineyard to others. And when they heard it, they said, God forbid. And he beheld them and said, What is this then that is written? The stone which the builders rejected, the same is become the head of the corner. Whosoever shall fall upon that stone shall be broken, but on whomsoever it shall fall, it will grind him to powder. And the chief priests and the scribes the same hour sought to lay hands on him, and they feared the people, for they perceived that he had spoken this parable against them. And they watched him, and sent forth spies, which should feign themselves just men, that they might take hold of his words, that so they might deliver him unto the power and authority of the governor. And they asked him, saying, Master, we know that thou sayest and teachest rightly, neither acceptest thou the person of any, but teachest the way of God truly. Is it lawful for us to give tribute unto Caesar, or no? But Jesus perceived their craftiness, and said unto them, Why tempt ye me? Show me a penny. Whose image and superscription hath it? They answered and said, Caesar's. And he said unto them, Render therefore unto Caesar the things which be Caesar's, and unto God the things which be God's. And they could not take hold of his words before the people, and they marveled at his answer, and held their peace. Actually, I think I should read it, because I was going to stop. Then came to him certain of the Sadducees, which deny that there is any resurrection, and they asked him, saying, Master, Moses wrote unto us, If any man's brother die, having a wife, and he die without children, that his brother should take his wife, and raise up seed unto his brother. There were therefore 7 brethren, and the first took a wife and died without children, and the second took her to wife, and he died childless. And the third took her, and in like manner the 7 also, and they left no children, and died. Last of all, the woman died also. Therefore, in the resurrection, whose wife of them is she? For 7 had her to wife. And Jesus answering said unto them, The children of this world marry, and are given in marriage. But they which shall be accounted worthy to obtain that world, and the resurrection from the dead, neither marry nor are given in marriage. Neither can they die any more, for they are equal unto the angels, and are the children of God, being the children of the resurrection. Now that the dead are raised, even Moses showed at the bush, when he called the Lord, the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. For he is not a God of the dead, but of the living, for all live unto him. Then certain of the scribes answering said, Master, thou hast well said. And after that, they durst not, the Bible in these words, durst. They durst not ask him any question at all. And he said unto them, how say they that Christ is David's son? And David himself saith in the book of Psalms, The Lord said unto my Lord, Sit thou on my right hand, till I make thy enemies thy footstool. David therefore calleth him Lord. How is he then his son? Then in the audience of all the people he said unto his disciples, Beware of the scribes, which desire to walk in long robes, and love greetings in the markets, and the highest seats in the synagogues, and the chief rooms at feasts, which devour widows' houses, and for a show make long prayers. The same shall receive greater damnation. That's the entire chapter, 47 verses. Luke 20. There's a lot to unpack in here. To be honest, I picked a first chapter and it read like this, a different part of the Bible in the Old Testament. And I said, I'm going to pick another chapter. And the other chapter reads the same way. It's like, God's like, no, this is what I want to say. So everything that I pick to read, and I'm not Googling what I'm going to read. I'm not looking for themes of verses. This is how, sometimes I'll have questions and, now I read the Bible a lot more. But before I used to just pick up the Bible and read it and I would get an answer to my question, whatever the answer to the question would be. And that's kind of how I pick verses for my messages. And it's always something like this. So before I even go into all of this, because there are a few things in here that I could talk about. Before I even get into this, I want to talk about what I have to say for the day. And the title of this video is Another Day, because that's how you have to take this situation that you're in, is literally just every day being another day. So I was thinking about the beginning of gang stalking, where I found myself. And I was thinking about, what you kind of go through when you're being gang stalked, when you're actually being gang stalked, when it goes overt, as people say, when it's active. Thinking about, how upside down everything turns for you. One minute you're sitting there and, your life is normal, or at least you can calculate it. And then another minute you look up, and I'm talking beyond where you're being gang stalked, beyond you just being followed. I'm talking about the full thing. You feel stagnated in your life. You feel stuck. Things aren't growing. Things aren't moving. In fact, they're dwindling. You do get to a point where, universally speaking, you feel helpless. You feel hopeless. You're made to feel alone. You've possibly tried everything that you could, as far as you've gone to the authorities, you've reported it, you've asked friends and family for help. You've tried, I've seen online people have tried moving states. I don't know if people have tried moving countries. I'm assuming people must have tried moving countries before, because it's logical. It's logical that people would want to go back to wherever their country is. And I've heard of people moving countries before. I've had people say that. Not to me directly, but like I've heard that in videos. It follows you wherever you are. especially in situations where there's certain groups that want to kind of box you in. It seems like there's nothing you can do. It is what it is. You end up getting to a point where you give up on yourself. You kind of see people who've gone through this situation. These people are not living like normal people should be living. You see TIs that are actively being gang stalked, and you can see it on their person. You can see in the way that they dress. You can see it in their self-care. They look haggard, etc., etc. Even for myself, I'm going to just address how I look today as well. I look like I'm tired. I have good sleep. I sleep well. I don't have nightmares, none of the above. I have to just constantly be cleaning off spell work constantly. So whenever there's an indication that I'm going to go live, I get spell work that either makes me look sick or makes me look tired, or I get spell work to be irritated. I have to constantly deal with getting over certain things as well. I'll be fine all day, and right before I go on live, it'll kind of look like I'm sick, like I got a cold, because, you know, this situation, there's a reason why people do not escape what is called the program. And the reason people don't escape it is because once they start gang stalking you, once you start going through certain things, they cannot stop. And I don't know if it's that their life is in my situation, I know people's lives are in jeopardy and they have to do what they have to do. But I don't know if that's like that for everyone. I've heard about gang stalking just from the perspective of, let's say, somebody's like ex-husband hired gang stalkers, or somebody's job hired gang stalkers. But sometimes the way that I hear gang stalking, it's kind of like there's some type of like secret society out there that is kind of like behind it, and it's like some organization where it's like people join and they have no choice. Either way, I definitely feel like people who start with this lifestyle can never get out. I definitely feel it's some sort of situation where when they start with it, they can never stop. And it does have to have a reputation of being insurmountable. It has to have a reputation of not being able to get over it. So it's like if you find yourself being someone who has been able to get over it, it almost is like you're making yourself a target. You're making yourself, you can't exist. There cannot exist people who not only have gotten over it, but who are not falling sick, not passing away, not dropping it like flies, not fearful, speaking out, understanding what's going on. It's almost like, excuse me, I can see why they would not want that to be. When you're in this situation and you feel unheard, abandoned, hopeless, you're going through all of this stuff, you're probably going to think to give up on yourself. That is only logical because you're here by yourself. God forbid the first couple people that they did this to, what people went through, what people felt. Maybe, I know that there was a point there wasn't as much information on the internet, or people didn't understand it at that time. News reporters were picking it up. If you hashtag gang stalking, there's this one video that was on the news where this lady was describing she'd come home, her drawers would be pulled open. They wanted you to know that they were there. They didn't take anything, but they did this, but they did that. If you really listen to stories in Hollywood, you can hear about gang stalking in Hollywood. You can see certain things. It's meant to be like this for a reason. So as a human being who is going through this for the first time and you have no idea what you're going through, it's only logical that you would give up on yourself, especially going through it by yourself. It's only logical that you would stop putting yourself together, stop taking care of yourself, stop taking care of your home, stop putting effort in your life. That is what they're trying to get you to do. They're beating down on you. It's like every day, it's a daily thing. Every single day, people are beating down on you to get you to give up on your life, to get you to give up hope. They're literally beating you out of your life. They want to make sure that there are no moments of peace ever, not even when you go to sleep. And people are talking about the fact that, well, I'm not even going to go into what people are talking about. It being my opinion is very strong, very clear. I've spoken about that before, what it is. First things first, thinking of giving up on yourself is the wrong way to live. Or wrong way to think, sorry. And I say this with compassion. It is the wrong thought process. When you are going through difficult challenges in life, the last thing that you are to consider is to give up on yourself. Giving up on what you're doing with what alternative? Like, what is the alternative? What are you going to do instead of what you're doing? There's nothing else to do but to walk the path that you have to walk. This is the path that you have to walk. I want to make that clear because the prevailing train of thought that's going to run through your head is that you made a wrong turn somewhere, that it's a misstep, that you should be going in another direction. This is the way that you have to go. It's kind of like when you're going through a spiritual ascension. Spiritual ascensions are very tough. Gang stalking is a spiritual ascension as well. When you're going through a spiritual ascension, you're going to think, I don't know how I made this wrong turn. I should have never spoken to this person. I should have never been friends with them, etc., etc. The whole point of going through it is for you to ascend. The whole point of you going through it is for you to get through it. The whole point of going through it, is for you to get to the point where you learn how to do things, where you ascend. When you ascend in what I call battle, when you ascend in spiritual fights, when you ascend in things that are grueling, it's because it's supposed to change you into who you are supposed to be. The whole process is difficult. It's insurmountable as who you are. Who you are today cannot win this fight. That's the point. Who you are right now cannot get through gang stalking. That's why who you are right now feels exhausted of this journey. Who you are right now doesn't want to continue walking. It's like that by design because you are in your south node. South node you is not equipped to handle this problem. You're supposed to develop and evolve with this opportunity. Not only are you supposed to develop and evolve with this opportunity, but everybody else around you in that situation is supposed to have some sort of evolution as well. These kind of situations put a death to people spiritually. These situations are not by chance. These situations are orchestrated by the universe. Anytime there is an ascension process, it is not by chance. I want to make that clear. You're thinking of just yourself in the ascension process, just yourself. You're thinking about how difficult this is just for you. Actually, let me take a look at this because this thing is lagging. I gotta figure out how to deal with my latency issues. But anyways, bear with me as I deal with this. But anyway, you're thinking just about yourself in this process. You're thinking about what you're going through. The entire situation is meant for evolution for all parties involved, everybody whose hand is in it, whether that be directly, indirectly, voluntarily, involuntarily. It presents an opportunity for growth, for growth is not even the right word, for evolution. It's a death and rebirth cycle. That's what's happening. Now, there are people here that are not going to evolve, and they're not going to make it to a rebirth. They're not meant to make it to the rebirth anyway by design. That's kind of how it's set up, is what I'm noticing. They're not going to make it through. And then you are meant to make it through. We're not talking about physical life and physical death either. We're talking about spiritual. You do not want to spiritually not be alive while physically being alive. When there is a death to your life spiritually, what happens is everything in your life is put to rest. Everything in your life dies, whether that's relationships, whether that's your family, whether that's your finances. I talk about the 12 astrological houses. There's a death to everything in your life. That happens first. And then eventually you go behind it. That is how the energy of death comes to you. So when you start gang stalking or being a TI or being gang stalked, first they put a death to, or they attempt to, they put a death to your life, everything in your life. That's why you sit back and you realize you don't have your relationships anymore. You don't have your family anymore. You don't have your networks anymore. You don't have the old life that you used to have. You don't have that life anymore. You do not have that life anymore. Everything that you used to know is gone. So I can speak from my experience and shared experiences of people that I've read or I've viewed online. Family, the closest people to you, you don't have them either. It doesn't matter if it's a parent, it doesn't matter if it's a sibling, you don't have anyone anymore. You don't have the old jobs anymore, the businesses, the acquaintances. You don't dress the same, you don't eat the same way. Things change and they change by themselves. Everything about you is different. You're almost unrecognizable, I should say. And it's the actual process of gang stalking itself that changes you. So for example, I'll say some things you actually work on. Like I actually worked on specific things, like jumping over specific behaviors, jumping over specific emotions and specific feelings. I did that myself. And then there were things that I had no control over. For example, I just had to let certain things burn off. If I were triggered by something, it's like I could only work so hard against it until I got to the point where it was like, you know what? It is what it is. Give me 1 second here. It was like, it is what it is. There's nothing that I can do about it. I'm going to have to deal with the way these things are. Hold on. I'm trying to see something here. Give me a second, guys. Give me a second. I'm genuinely trying to figure this thing out. Yeah, I don't know how this works. Not yet. me a second, guys. I'm trying to learn this. Trying to learn this thing. Even me doing this right now is one of those things that I normally would not do, only because I used to be such a perfectionist. I used to want everything perfect all the time. I used to hate having issues with things. I used to want everything to be so perfect, etc., etc. Nothing is the same with me anymore. And I feel like that's just how it works as far as going through this process that you go through. Hold on. Yeah, I'm gonna have to learn this. This is a new platform for me, so it is what it is. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out over time. Anyway, um, as I was saying, where was I? The whole point of the process is because you're supposed to evolve, and that happens one way or the other. Here's the problem, and I don't know if I should call it necessarily a problem, but here's what happens if you don't evolve. If you don't find yourself evolving in this process, you stagnate, and you don't get to the point of um, ascending. You don't pass through. When it's your time to evolve to another version of yourself, you're supposed to evolve. You're supposed to walk through that door. Now, if you have spirit guides that are here to guide you through, they almost damn near like shove you through the door. You're going to be sitting there whining and crying, and you're like, why me? Why is this happening to me? And they're damn near kicking you through the door. If people are supposed to go through that door with you, whoever is supposed to go through the door with you goes through the door with you. Whoever is stagnating behind, it's not coming through, it's because they're not supposed to come through. This is not a door where people can force themselves in with you. This is energetic. This is spiritual. This is not like someone forcing themselves through, and people will force themselves through in that door. If you're a victim of a destiny swap, if you're a victim of people trying to take from you energetically what is yours, and you have guides that are walking through that are blocking that for you or with you, I don't see how it's possible for people to walk through with you. And I know in this situation, and it's collective. It's not just myself, but a lot of different people. It's like the people who have attempted these destiny swaps cannot come through. Energetically, it's just impossible no matter how much they try. So when you first start this process and you're sitting there and you're dejected, and one thing that I have noticed is there have been people before, perhaps people that have come before us, that have not come all the way through. And I'm able to tell. I'm not going to go through specifically like what kind of things I've observed that I can tell, but there are people who were supposed to take a spiritual ascension prior to, and they didn't go through. They are stagnated and they are stuck. So, first things first, if you can hear voices, it is not V2K. Well, they call it V2K. I understand that they call it V2K, but if you can hear voices, you probably have psychic abilities. That is the reality. I've talked to people about this all the time. How on earth did the military get the devices in you to like speak to you virtually? Like, really think about it. How are they reading your thoughts? Is it printing on a fax machine? Are they viewing your thoughts and images on a monitor? No. You have the hardware without the connection. You're supposed to be connected to spirit in a certain way, and you're not. But the hardware is there, the software is there, and it's functioning, it's functional. So you have the spiritual gifts without the connection. So there are people who probably can see apparitions, who can hear voices in their head that speak to them as clearly as they can hear on a phone. There are people who can sense things. They have a very strong intuition. They understand what's going on. They maybe are not using the terminology that other people are using. So they're not necessarily saying things like how maybe tarot readers are saying things, but they kind of understand that they are tethered energetically to someone else. And that person, it's like when things happen in their life, it happens in that person's life, and etc., and vice versa. And they call it a digital twin. So, right idea along the right lines. But what's happened is they've blocked your connection. You haven't been able to connect to source. Now, that connection can be blocked for all kinds of reasons. First things first, I always say, these people, they plant wrong ideas. They make you feel like the CIA is after you, or these like government agencies, or it's the military, or this, that, and the third. They make it a bigger thing than it actually is, more frightening than it actually is. So you're really sitting at home thinking like it's the CIA and the FBI and the this and that, you're on a government watch list. And meantime, it's your husband, your ex-husband, who you're going through a divorce with, that hired people to make you crazy. And the way they do this is they might go through, I would say maybe energy exchange. It's not always destiny swap, in my opinion, from what I see. It may not necessarily always be that you have some huge, what we might call inheritance. It may be just that you have the business person, you have some talent. Well, I guess that is a destiny swap technically. But whatever it is, it's always people who fit a certain criteria and have a certain profile. So whenever I was going through this, people would always look at me and be like, "You're a good person." And then they would proceed to do whatever evil that they were going to do anyway. And I figured to myself, I'm like, you know what? I think it's not that they don't know you're a good person. It's that they target you because you are a good person. It's almost like you have the kind of karma that they need. Like, this is not by accident that they come after people that are normally always genuinely good people. Because the ones that are genuinely not good people are easy to help them. It's easy. It's almost like you got to pick a side. It's one side or the other side. You're either on their side or you're by yourself on your own side, on the other side. So all of this that's happening to me, and I don't think it's just to me, but all of this that's happening, I don't think this is by accident at all. Like, you're meant to suffer in this way. Like, these things are meant to happen to you. So they're happening to you in a process. So what happens is it's almost like your spirit team allows them to put a death, not almost, they allow them to put a death to your old life. They allow all of these things to happen. They allow everything from the past to fall away. It's supposed to, because you are just at a juncture in your life where you're not supposed to be pushing through. You're not supposed to continue on life where you are in the same way that you're at. You didn't know this was going to happen, or perhaps you didn't know it was going to happen in this way. But this is what's happening. You get to the point where you're going to have to cross the threshold. If you don't cross the threshold, if you don't make it through in the way that you're supposed to make it through, you're going to get stuck there. You're going to get stuck there with them because they're not making it through. I don't know if there are people who think that they have actually taken from other people what God gave them in regards to, maybe, I mean, I could say people like myself, these kind of like contracts that people like myself have. I don't know if there are people that think they've successfully done that. I don't see how it's possible, because people like myself that end up in this situation are not here by accident. It's here by design. And it's here on God's timing. The timing God wants, in the way God wants. The whole thing is being guided by God, being by God. So when you get to this situation, you get to this point, if you don't open your heart to God, if you don't open your heart to the things that, or you don't open your mind to the things that are being shown to you, if you don't accept the miracles that you see, if you don't walk the path, that's how you get stuck. That's how you end up being gang stalked for forever. This is, gang stalking is not, or spiritual ascension is not a matter of race. It's not a matter of gender. It's not a matter of any of the above. These things, happen to anybody, and they've been happening. So it doesn't matter. I don't ever want to make it kind of like a race thing or anything. Anybody can end up going through the gang stalking process. When you sit back and there are things that you observe, and these things are supernatural, it is not meant for you to ignore it and think to yourself, this is only happening as a result of, whatever it is that you think it's as a result of. Oh, it's military complex, it's this, it's that, it's the third. You're supposed to take it for what it is. You're supposed to look at it for what it is. You're not supposed to try to make it something that it's not. Give me a second here. I don't know why my frames are dropping. Hold on. I might have to check on studio. This might be not one of my better streams, but I'm okay to deal with that just because it's my first one that I have to go through like this. So it is what it is. I gotta just walk through it, bear with the process. Please bear with me. I know that the video is lagging. I know the quality is not the greatest. I just gotta do what I gotta do. I just gotta do what I gotta do. Let me tell you, even as early as yesterday, going through this would have completely pissed me off, because I would have been like, oh my God, what is happening here, etc., etc. Now, let me tell you, the perfectionism, it's been burnt off. I've burnt it off. What do I mean by that? I can't keep being a perfectionist in the way that I've always been. I can't keep like thinking things are going to go my way in this type of situation. I just can't keep thinking that things are going to be perfect when I have people that are assigned to me. And that's how it works. That's literally just how it works. So I have to be patient with the process. You have to work with what you have. And I'm going to kind of go into that. So first things first, when this all came to me, this is from the perspective of people who are supposed to walk this path, people who are supposed to walk through this and never quite walk through it the way that they were supposed to. If this happened to you, I just want to let you know, first of all, I don't know how my words are going to meet you, because I found that when I've met other people who have been going through gang stalking for a long time, so they haven't made it through their ascension process. They've been going through this for a long time. They've almost, I don't want to say they've given up hope, but in a way, I almost feel like they've given up hope. Um, but it's been very hard. It's been very difficult to get through to them. And I, of course, have compassion for it because I understand it. When you're coming from being a very realistic person, not a faith based person, and you start going through gang stalking, and when you go online to look for information, all the information keeps talking about you're on a government watch list, it's the CIA, it's whatever. They accomplish the government watch list thing because it's the people who are supposed to be closest to you, or not, well, yeah, the people who are supposed to be closest to you, but also people in positions of public trust that all turn on you, and you can see that it's weird. It's judges, it's lawyers, it's doctors, it's your dentist. It's those kind of people that start turning against you. And of course, you're going to think, how comes everywhere I go, everybody's turning against me? Of course, you're going to think that. So it's understandable. However, it's not logical. It's not that it's not logical. It's taking one side of things into consideration. It doesn't take into consideration the supernatural things that are happening that make no sense. So when you go online to look for those answers, you're seeing more answers of like, it's the government after me, it's this after me, it's that after me. And then they make up these explanations as to why. Now, when you try to explain to people what's going on with you, they think that you're crazy. They think that it makes no sense. If you are in this position, all that I can do is I can just start saying things like, look, I understand if you don't necessarily believe everything that I'm going to say, take it with a grain of salt, but please do consider it. Everything that you have done thus far, you have done that your way by yourself. The way out of this is through partnership, spiritual partnership. And it's not just the way out of gang stalking itself. It is the way into the future. Your future involves spiritual partnership. That is the only way forward. Gang stalking is not a wrong turn. You are supposed to go through the gang stalking because it is supposed to evolve you into something or someone that you are not. This is not a mistake. This side of it is not a mistake. This is by design. This is on purpose. This is the way that it should be. First things first, this is how you begin this process. I don't know if people are going to follow along or not, but you need to work on your heart. Because your heart is where your spirit guides and your ancestors live. That is where you start. You need to make a comfortable place that they can meet you. If you don't, it is not going to be possible for this to happen. Your heart, literally, this is why, if you look at the chakras, the root has everything to do with the earth, has everything to do with stability in life. As you go up, I'm going to skip everything in between, you get to the heart. This is where the transformation happens. When you get to your heart chakra, when that opens and becomes balanced, meaning that you've healed past trauma, you've healed past issues, you've worked through things that have happened to you that have changed you as a person in a negative way. This is important. Old wounds, that you have with family members, things that have happened to you through childhood, you have to heal these things. You have to evolve past them. In order to stagnate you on this journey, that's what they block. They try to block your heart chakra. That's why they get family, friends, and people around you to betray you in ways that are heartless, to do things to you that will break your heart. The wounds need to be so deep that they are soul wounds. They're not light, they're deep, they're soul wounds, and they're things that are supposed to make you question yourself and lack self-love and lose hope. It is done so by design. When you get here, you have to navigate the gang stalking experience so that it doesn't further wound you. This is why they're always looking for what your past triggers are. What are the past things that have hurt you, so that they can reenact these things in a deeper way. So if, say, wounded in the past, like you were raped in the past, let's say, being something extremely traumatic, they're going to want to reenact that on you in a worse way this time, in order to really wound you. And it wounds you so badly that you question God, because you're going to say, how can God allow this to happen? How can God exist if this happens? When it wounds in here, God cannot reside in here, because there is not enough love in here. Not just love for one person to one person, or you to like a family member or anything, but a wound that is blocking the ability for God to exist in here. I hope that, I really hope that makes sense. It's blocking universal love. It's making you hate humanity, people at large, not being able to connect to people, because what it is that you have to do on your journey requires you to have compassion for people, requires you to love people. And this is a very touchy thing. This is what they want to block you from. This is the work that you're going to be doing. You need to first work on your heart. That is where God lives. That is where God needs to reside. You need to work on that part of you. You need to heal that. And not only do you need to heal that, but you need to protect it on your gang stalking journey. So you can't be scared of people. Everybody's not a bad person. You can't be blocking people out altogether. You have to take the journey and learn discernment. You have to be able to discern between who and what is a gang stalker and who and what is a normal person, so that you can go out into the world and you can do what it is that you need to do. You need to heal the wounds first. You don't need to heal so completely that you never have another situation in your life, or that, you've worked through 100% of the issues, but you need to heal it enough that God can come in. I would say, I can't even put a percentage on it. God's going to know. But whenever you get to that point where you can pray, whenever you can get to that point where you can have some compassion for people outside of yourself, whenever you can see outside of yourself, that's the point that God can come in. And that's the point where, from a spiritual perspective, we call that you can be possessed by the spirit, or that spirit can ride you. And it's not just going to be one spirit that's going to be with you. It's going to be your ancestors in general. It's going to be more than one spirit, depending on what your personal situation is. You got to get to that point where you have that assistance from the inside. You're going to need that assistance from the inside. Your spirit guides have always been with you from the outside. If they're not on the inside, then they cannot shield you in the way that they need to shield you. That means that when you're sent spell work, they cannot be there to block it. When people want to put their hands on you energetically, they cannot be there to handle it for you. You need to invite them inside, from the inside. It's almost like from the inside, they can monitor everything. They can monitor your health, your mental health, your well-being. That's where they can give you the information that you need in order to assist you. More so than that, when you are energetically tethered to your spirit guides, they don't really need your permission for anything. They don't need you to agree to things or not. From the outside, they need your free will, and they need you to do this and do that. Once you are tethered to spirit, married to spirit in this way, it's a spiritual union, a spiritual marriage. Once you are married to spirit in this way, it's the same way they say the church is the bride of Christ. This is permanent, and it goes through in lifetimes, not just this lifetime. It is eternal. This is a marriage that is eternal. That's why you need to think twice before you marry entities. Nothing can clean it off. There is no taking it off. The spirit has to decide or be in agreement to leave. This is a permanent union. So you have to be sure that these are actually your ancestors, your spirit guides, whatever, because they're with you. Now, once they're here, they don't need you to do it. So let me give you an example. What happens is people try to block downloads. They try to block spirits talking to you. They try to block the voice of spirit. So people who haven't fully properly ascended, but they still have the ability to hear voices, to hear spirit in outside. Spirit doesn't need to talk to you when spirit's from the inside. Spirit just does whatever it needs to do because you share the vessel. And by sharing the vessel, what I mean by this is they share your body. So in the same way that you have free will and free domain over the body that you decide, let me get off the bed. Let me go do this. Let me go do that. As soon as you're with them, they have the ability to do all of that and more. As soon as you're married to spirit, spirit doesn't need your permission, or spirit doesn't need to say to you, I want to do this, I want to do that. They just do it. This is why they need to be there, because there are going to be points where they need to walk the earth almost as you, if that makes any sense, and get things done. This is part of what is going on here. And I know it sounds very weird. I know it sounds kind of scary. Like, doesn't that sound like demonic? That's how we're told about demonic possession, etc., etc. But this is in the Bible. When you carry the Spirit of God, what do you think? Let me explain something to you. What do you think a baptism is? A baptism, when you go to the water and you dip yourself in water and they pray over you, you're marrying to spirit. If you take a baptism seriously, that's what you've done. You've married yourself into the spirit. Once you let spirit in, like once your heart is pure enough that you let spirit in, they heal the rest of everything else that needs to be healed. Whatever it is that needs to be addressed, it gets addressed. If that means you have addictions, if that means you don't eat well, you don't work out, it's almost like you have this like force, this little indicator in you, let's say in the back of your head or on your heart, is even a better example, that checks, are you eating well? Are you sleeping well? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? No, we need you taken care of. We need you healthy. So let's go work out. It's time to lose weight. It's time to gain weight. It's time to take care of this. It's time to take care of that. Because this energy that's here with you wants the best for you. So when you see people going through spiritual ascensions, you will notice that these people, they start changing their diet. They stop eating certain things. They start eating certain things. They start taking care of themselves. They start doing this. They start taking things more seriously. Things start changing by itself because they've accepted the Holy Ghost into them. The same with people who have possessions, like demonic possessions. You start noticing slowly but surely things start dwindling in their life in the same way. Their health declines, things start falling apart, they start behaving in a certain way, whatever have you. There's no getting around it. Once you let these energies in, things either fall apart or they get better. Things with you change. Once you ascend, everything changes, but it starts with healing your heart and making an appropriate place for God to reside with you. It's just like when people go and get baptized, it's the same way. You got to heal this first in order to walk through it. You're going to ask God for help to heal, but either way, once you start carrying the Holy Spirit with you, you're going to gradually heal as well. Slowly but surely, you're going to get to where you need to go. You're going to also feel God's love once God inhabits you. That's the first thing that you're going to feel. And I went through this, and let me tell you, it is one of the most magical experiences, regardless of the fact that you're being gang stalked. That's one of the things that brings you peace that people don't understand why you're so calm and why you're so peaceful despite all this really traumatic things happening. It's because of the peace that you carry with you. When you are working with energies of light, you experience them by experiencing peace. by having love, by having compassion, by having a sense of everything is going to be okay, because that is what they feel like. If you were to call them by their names, you would call, God or whoever it is that you pray to. But when you look at it as an energy, it's the energy of peace, it's the energy of compassion, it's the energy of hope, and it's 100% the energy of love. When you look at demons, you can call them by a name, or you can call them the energy of jealousy, hatred, malice, rage, but these are uncontrollable feelings because they come in such a potency. So, this is how it works. Whether you like it or not, this is how it works. Once you're carrying this energy with you, people see that energy on you, they perceive it. So as you go to different places and meet different people, you might meet people who are good people. And when God meets these good people on you, these people look at you and there's something about you they like, there's something about you they appreciate, there's something about you that's very attractive to them. And when God meets them, God blesses their life based on their actions. The Bible says based on their works. But when you meet the people who are doing things to you that deserve karma, people that do evil, who they meet is they meet God. Now, I've explained this before, that I've been around gang stalkers in their presence, and I'm not joking. It's like I've been in their space. And when you can see spirit in the toughest part of it, you can see spirit roaming around. You can see spirit roaming around in the situation. And so once you see spirit, it's like you can see spirit roaming into people's environments, and you're sitting there trying not to break eye contact, but in your peripheral, you can see spirit kind of drifting around in people's spaces. That's the point. That's how it's supposed to work. You're supposed to just continue on your life and you meet people. Now, you're going to think this message was a different message, but I'm going to go with how I'm being guided to give this message. You're going to think that, well, it appears that you're being gang stalked, that these people won't leave you alone. They are hunting you down and you can't escape them. You're going to feel like you have the worst luck in the world because everywhere you go, there they are. Now, I've come to a point where I've done so much to almost these people should not be able to find me anywhere. I find them. I find them. They are sometimes just minding their business wherever, and that's where I show up. And I talk about this all the time. It could be something as simple as I just decide to get up because I'm missing salt at my house. And I go to the store to go buy salt, and there they are, and they didn't even mean to run into me, and I meet them. It's not me meeting them. It's God who wanted to meet them. It's the Holy Spirit who wanted to meet them. So you find yourself in a situation where it almost seems like you have the worst luck possible. You're going along your merry way and something says to you, oh, you should just go stop over here to go check something out. You go, you check the thing out. Your mind's telling you everything's fine. You're having a great day. Your mind's telling you go over here. You go over there and there they are. You can't get away from it. This is how this thing works. No matter what you try, no matter what you do. Why? Because you're on the right path. This is the path that you're supposed to be on. I used to wonder how comes the readers have spiritual gifts and they're being given messages by spirit and they still end up in these situations. It's because that's where God needs them. That is your north node. And it's almost like, we've been described, or people describe this as, well, you're an earth angel. And It's not the kind of earth angel you think. Like, this is not like, you're not a cherubim. You're not like you're not like Cupid. You're just there to be there. You're just there to be there. You don't have to do anything to anyone. You don't have to say anything to anyone. You're just there to be there. And this is how your life is going to work. So you're going to end up finding yourself in situations where people, they think it's you. They think it's you doing something to them. They think it's you who's like trying to hurt them. They don't understand how this works. Or they understand and they don't want to accept it. I don't know how else to put it. You have to get yourself to a point where you just accept that this is how it's going to go. This is how it works. What spirit wants to work, works. What spirit doesn't want to work, does not work. And there's nothing that you can do about it. If a path is meant to be blocked, it will be blocked no matter what you do, no matter what you say. It's just how spirit wants it. If things are supposed to work for you, they work for you. If they're not supposed to work, they don't work. I say all this to say, I was told this on my journey. I was told, just relax into this process and let it be what it's going to be. And I was fighting against the current of it all the time. And I don't know how many times Spirit told me this, but life is meant to be experienced. You can be told, I think sometimes Spirit just literally tells you things so that when you finally get to the point where you experience it, you're like, oh, okay, it makes sense now. There is no point in fighting against this. I know now when my body or my spirit tells me to get up and go do something, I'm getting up and I'm going to do it because spirit wants me to do that. I just know that's how it's going to work. I can't go around it. If you're going through this process and you're being gang stalked and you're going through persecution, every single person that persecutes you, it's because God wants to meet them personally. That's it. Every single person that signs up to do this, it's because they've done it before, or they were willing to pick it up and to do it. It's almost like God sends people here to, in my heart, instinctively, I felt like it's almost like a cleanup crew that's coming. It's almost like we are the cleanup crew that's been sent. And this is how it has to go before. There's this thing that I read, and I've seen it now a couple times where it says, Jesus is coming soon. The rapture is almost here. And I'm like, the rapture is here now. Like, it's now. The gods are here now. They're here now. They're cleaning up now. There are people who know that this is what's happening to them. There are people here who know that they are going through this. They're going through a level of karma that they can't deny, and it can't be explained in any other way. That's because this is what's supposed to happen. And I can't put it in any other way than that. The only thing that is two things that it's very important for you to do. Three things now, I guess. One, you got to open your heart to God. And in order to do so, you have to heal past trauma. You have to deal with the things that you did in the past as well. Not just what people did to you, but the ways that you were living, what happened to you, or how did you get to the point that these people even were a part of your life? What kind of life were you living, or what kind of things did you agree to that got you here? You have to heal that. You have to get to that. And then you have to open yourself to the fact that this is a spiritual journey. You can't get around the fact that this is a spiritual journey. You can't explore this and you can't go through with this in a logical way. Nothing about this is logical. There is spell work happening here. There are entities that are stopping you, that are trying to block you because they don't want their strongholds to be broken down. And there's no way around it. And three, you have to accept that this is your path and this is the path forward. So initially, I was looking at it as this is all happening and I'm waiting for this cycle to end or this cycle to close, and then everything is going to go back to normal and etc. And now I've come to the conclusion that I've already ascended. I am already in my North Node. I'm not waiting to get there anymore. The whole process of being gang stalked is the North Node. The whole process of God meeting people through you is the North Node. This is it. There's no way outside of it. This is it. You're here now. This is what you're supposed to be doing. So I was bracing against this, like, oh my goodness, I can't wait for this to end and this to go away. And this is it. So I literally just got to the point where it's like, that's why I say I burnt off my triggers, where I'm not going to say all of them because I don't even know what all of them are. But one of the biggest triggers of discontinuing, it's supposed to. That's how it's supposed to work. There's no way around this thing. That's how it's supposed to work. People are supposed to do things against me. I'm supposed to meet these people. I'm supposed to have these challenges. All I'm supposed to do is continue moving despite the challenges, and not in a way where it's like, this is so hard. Why do I have to go through this? Except not like that. I just have to continue going through the challenges just as they are, just as it is. Like, without the reaction. And God tried to say this to me for the longest time, like, you don't have to react to any of this. But it's like, it depends on your perception, your perspective of understanding. From my place of understanding, it's like I'm trying to like stronghold myself and like not have a reaction to things that are very triggering, that are trying to bully me into a reaction. Once you accept that this is your life and this is how this has to go and this is what's happening, you can't have a reaction because this is how it's going to be every day for the rest of your life. I'm not going to say that it's going to be harassment and active gang stalking and whatever. Once you get over the evolution, I think that's what the ascension is. But your purpose, your literal purpose is to walk into crazy situations. You might as well walk in with a smile. You might as well be chilled out because you have to meet them one way or the other, and you're going to meet them. God knows their GPS. God knows their address. You're going to meet them. Whether you meet them at the bakery while they're just having a great day or what, you're going to meet them. And it doesn't matter if you meet them and you're in a bad mood or they're in a bad mood or you're trying to prove to them none of this matters. God is literally just waiting for you to come to terms with it. And I feel like when you come to terms with it, a shift happens inside of you and you're no longer worried about anything because this is what's supposed to occur. Let me tell you, just like I'm having a whole bunch of latency issues here that I'm going to have to try to figure out. I used to push against this so hard, like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this is happening. People are doing these things to me and whatever. And once you have this pivot in your spirit where you're like, oh, this is just a latency issue. Let me just deal with it. Let me just deal with that. Let me just deal with that. You stop the reaction thing so much and you stop lashing out. You stop being so angry and you just know that it is what it is. And you just kind of walk through it. And you just go through it with such an ease. You just go through it in such a relaxed way. And people don't understand that that is what is meant to happen. Slowly but surely, you just get to the point where you're like, when you're sitting there and your body's like, let's go get ice cream, and you don't want the ice cream because you don't even eat ice cream, you know that you're going to get to the ice cream place and you're not going to buy the ice cream. You're going to get there. You're going to be followed all the way there. You're going to get there. You're going to meet a bunch of people who are going to be horrible to you. You're going to decide you actually don't want the ice cream. You're going to go home. And that was it. And you're going to think to yourself, when you don't know what's going on, you're like, what a waste of my time. But when you do know what's going on, you're like, oh, I guess this is just what it is. And sometimes you realize that at a point where things are so bad for people gang stalking you that they couldn't stop gang stalking you if they tried. They can't stop what's already started. They have to continue doing what they have to continue doing. Some of them might not believe that this is what's happening, and some of them might know and not be able to stop, maybe because of entities or possessions. And some of them, it's like they don't want to, but they're forced. They did it happily to other people, but now where they are with you, they're forced. They still have to do what they have to do. This is just the way forward. This is just all it is. You become a problem solver. You become a person that realizes, I just need to solve my problems. When things come up, I just need to go over that hurdle. I need to fix it. Are you going to be taken care of on this journey? You already are. You don't even know how bad the things that are being thrown at you are until you see it play out in other people's lives. Then you realize how sick you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be here shivering, tired, falling apart, looking exhausted and drained and like you're passed away and whatever. And other people look like that. Other people have no energy. This is just the way that it's supposed to play out. All you do is what you're asked. That's it. As you go through the more difficult part of this journey, before you get to the place where I'm at, because it takes a while to get here, at a place of peace with what is going on, at a place of non-resistance. When you get to this part of the journey, before you get to this part of the journey, all you got to do is give God another day. Go through it to the point where all you're giving God is just one more day. One more day. Giving God a one more day. That's all you can do. And go through that full day and give God the full day, the entire day. The entire day of just devotion, trust, and patience with your process. Once you get to that point, I promise you, things that were sent to burden you and piss you off will not affect you in the way that they are supposed to. You're going to be able to do the things that you're supposed to. You're going to find a way. God is going to assist you on the journey. And whatever has to happen, has to happen. And it just all happens God's way. And it is what it is. And that's all it is. People are going to meet you and they're not going to recognize you. Now I'm going to go back to what I had to say here. Once you get here and you open your heart to your spirit guides and your spiritual team, you're going to notice that they were always here with you. They were just on the outside and you did not acknowledge them because you didn't open yourself before, or it wasn't even time before to know about them. But they were always here. Now, let me tell you, with me, I knew that they were here from before they really exposed themselves. I knew it. I was in denial. I could tell. I was like, oh, there's something off here. Like, if you're intuitive, or if you can connect the dots, you can feel something's going on. I had indication more than once. And it's almost like they almost wanted to hide it from me. But I'm like, there's no way. Because at that time, my mind wasn't open yet. Fully open. But it wasn't a huge shock. It's almost like it made sense. This made sense. They've always been here and they will always be here. They are, even for people who haven't properly ascended, I feel like they're still with you. They're still there. They're just not able to protect you in the way that they should. But I feel like, in my heart, I feel like they're still there. Even before you're awakened, they are there with you. You're not walking alone. You do need to address your fears, or else this is going to be a difficult journey, because you're always going to be afraid of something. You're always going to have fear in you. You need to address feelings of fear and hopelessness, because these are very low vibrational feelings. That is something that actively needs to be worked on, or otherwise it takes a while for fear to dissipate. Hopelessness will remain, but fear to dissipate, it takes a while to burn fear off. You have to be just like exhausted of this to a point where it's like, I feel like it's going to drain you as a person. So do take your time with it. You're going to have to address your things like your self-care and picking up your productivity, your passions, your work. Spirit's going to continue pushing you through that. And you're going to eventually get to that point with yourself. you're definitely going to have to address attacks that are coming your way. So that means that you are scaling little mountains all the time. It could be things to do with your employment. It could do things to do with your health. It could do things to do with spiritual attacks that you get, addressing spiritual attacks in your home. You're going to need to scale these little mountains all the time because you need to find solutions. And like I said, you become a problem solver. And I think that's okay. The attitude that you go forth with it, or the attitude that you go through it with, makes a difference. So you're going to have to figure these things out one at a time. By the time you get to your first year, you've come a long way. I think the first year, at least for me, was the most difficult. It's the hardest that you're going to be gang stalked because it's going to take a while for people to kind of figure out what's going on with them. It's going to take a while for the group at large to figure out that they're receiving karma. And karma speeds up over time the longer you stay in there, because the more lessons you accumulate and the more skills you accumulate, it takes a while. After the first year, I want to say that people probably won't recognize you if you've opened up your heart to spirit in the way that you should. You're probably going to make peace with your losses. You're going to make peace with things that don't make sense for you. You're just going to come a long way. Like I said, this is how this thing is supposed to work. I'm going to say this. If you are going to be a TI for 9 years or 10 years anyway, you're going to be gang stalked 10 years anyway. You have to get to the point that you're going to say, I'm not going to be gang stalked as a TI. If they're going to gang stalk me, I'm going to gang stalk as a survivor. I'm going to gang stalk as someone who's working with spirit. I'm going to be gang stalked as someone who's working with my spirit guides and not against them. I'm going to be allowing things to happen. I'm going to be trusting this process. This is how I'm going to be walking through it. By your second year, you're going to learn how to push back on certain things, and you're going to be more in a learning process than a survival mode. So by your second year, you're going to already, I used to call myself the hurdle jumper, which basically means that as hurdles come, I navigate them. When you're coming out of your second year, so I am literally just graduating out of my second year into my third year, the kind of ease and calm and peace and strength that you have, it's gonna be very apparent that that's insurmountable. Like, people are not getting over on you the way that they used to. You're not, like I said, like for me right now, I'm not feeling the things that I used to feel. There's just a peace and a calm and an ease that comes over you because you've done this long enough. So as you come to your anniversary, every anniversary you feel a shift. And as you feel that shift, it's like your whole environment shifts, and then you just kind of come along with it. You just kind of graduate through it. I can't tell you what the fourth year is going to be, but I imagine the fourth year there's going to be a bliss that comes with it. Not because bad things are not happening to you, but things do not affect you anywhere remotely to the way that they used to. You move forward in the world in a completely different way. You have a trust and a faith in God because you're in a partnership here. And this is lifelong. It's not like this is a partnership where you're going to stop one day or things are going to end for you. This is a lifelong partnership. This is an eternal partnership. The ascension is rough, but when the ascension is done and the lessons have been learned, you step into your ease and you step into your power. You no longer need to be a victim who lays down and takes abuse. And you don't even need to duck and dodge. You don't even need that energy. You just walk into situations and you're just there and you're just like, hi, hello, how are you? And that's it. You don't have the kind of tension that you used to have. You start learning that monumental victories come in the form of attacks. And so the attacks have to come. The weapons have to form. They just don't prosper. How do you learn new things, new skills, and all that is you have to be attacked. And you just come to terms with that. When you're in the beginning, God is saying to you, if you match my energy, then we'll get through this. And all God needs is for you to match God's energy. If I never give up on you, will you never give up on me? Spirit is saying is, if I never stop pushing the plan that we make together, or the plan that I have on you or with you, will you also remain committed and keep pushing forward? That's all you need to do in this situation, is match God's energy. Literally, you're almost there. You just need to get through the ascension. After the ascension is complete, you don't need to worry about anything from there. Whether you're gang stalked or not, you go through with being gang stalked in a different way. So what felt like gang stalking doesn't feel like gang stalking anymore. You almost go back to you don't go back to your old life, but you evolve into a new life. If that makes sense. You just evolve through. You develop a winner's attitude. Listen, let me tell you something. When you step into a new portal or you graduate something, like all of this, I came up with all of this yesterday, and something shifted. Was it yesterday? Was it today? Was it this morning? I can't remember. But something shifted. All of the energy and the tension and whatever that I used to feel or I used to face, I don't feel it anymore in the same way. Because it's almost like you just had to learn. I don't know if I just had to learn one more lesson or what it was, but it's like you just feel that energetic shift. You just feel it. And God has promised this the entire time. It's the way you walk through this that makes the difference. It's not the fact that you have to walk through it. It's the way you're walking through it. And the way that I'm walking through it now is that it's just not the end of the world. Little things are going to happen here and there. People are going to follow you. People are going to be aggressive. People are going to be hostile. They're going to try to make an example of you, etc., etc. But it's not the end of the world. One day you're going to look up. So in the beginning, you're not going to be entirely sure of what the plan is because God doesn't tell you the plan. Things aren't revealed to you because you got to learn. You got to learn trust. You got to learn blind trust here. You're going to be sure that God is with you because you feel it. You feel that love. You feel that compassion. You feel spirit with you. But one day you're going to look up and you're going to see the promise in your reality. You're just going to see it with you. You're going to feel it with you. You're going to feel calm. You're going to feel at ease. You're going to feel focused. You're not going to be scared of going outside anymore. You're not going to be bracing. Like, it's just going to flow. You're just going to have that ease about you. Before you get there, you need to make a commitment to keep pushing, keep reworking, and keep trying. Every single day that you stay committed, you get closer to your victory. Bad days do not equal to a bad life, sorry. And tough times will not last. I want to really drive this home. Your bad days are not going to be a bad life. You're not going to have a bad life just because you have tough days. You're going to be fine. I promise you. You just got to keep pushing. For my 2 years of my ascension, they were rough as heck. They were rough and they got incrementally easier, but I had to put in that work. That is a Christ walk. Before your resurrection, it is a Christ walk. My goodness, is it difficult? I'm not going to tell you that it's not. It's going to be rough. When people tell you about their spiritual ascensions, you panic in a little bit. Listen, I went through mine. Mine was difficult. And I hear about other people who went through their spiritual ascension. I'm still like, my goodness, that's not fun. We're talking about spiritual persecution night and day, but you gotta go through that to activate. To become the person who is fearless. To become a person who can walk into storms. A person who walks into storms. And I also feel like, I used to say, I don't think God like tests people or anything like that, but maybe God does. I don't know, because I've walked into situations and it's like, God has to know that you can be trusted. Trusted to not be bribed, trusted to not take bad offers, trusted to not turn away, but trusted to stay in a storm. Because you're dealing with energies that are lashing out because they're fighting with everything they have to maintain what they have, to maintain their strongholds. And it is what it is. It is what it is. So I'm going to share with you guys a pledge. You're going to give God another day, which is going to equal every single day if you give another day to an entire lifetime. And that's another lifetime that you give God because you've done this before. This has been your habit to come here and do this. And another lifetime is going to equal to an eternity in service to the crown. And that is an affirmation that I have. It's a promise that I make to my spirit team every single day. I mean it with my whole heart and my whole soul. And no matter how difficult things get, I always give them another day. And even though they know, in the beginning, it was just another day. I didn't say another lifetime or any of that. It was just another day. I'm giving you guys another day. I don't know about tomorrow. You guys, we're going to have to talk about tomorrow. I don't know how it's going to go. And then I got to the point where when we got to the next, a certain amount of months, I was like, listen, you're going to get forever. You're going to get forever from me. I'm just saying it because today is hard. And this is more for me than anything else. And they get confident in the fact that, I can go to bed literally completely pissed off and upset and then wake up in the morning and I don't know what it is. I'm like back again with more motivation, more conviction, more strength, and more determination that I had the day before. You just got to pledge another day. It's almost like that pledge is giving a commitment and spirit takes that promise and they use that promise and they're like, well, we got another day with you. Let's go. And when I say another day, I mean a full day, a full jam-packed day that you're going to give 100% of your energy. 100%. You're going to give it everything. This is how you have to walk through life. You go from not fearing what opposes you, not fearing what threatens you, to just knowing that God has it covered, God has it handled. Whatever the obstacles are today, this is not how it's meant to be. And that's how it is. So I hope this message brings you hope. The way that God has sent people before me to give me hope and to give me messages of hope. I hope it brings you hope so that you can walk through your ascension and one day give other people hope as well. This is a spiritual ascension. God is with you. We have God the Mother, God the Father, and our ancestors. And by the way, today is Sunday, Ra Day. It's the day of the sun. It is our Father's Day. So do something special for your altar if you have one. If you don't have one, you can go to my how-to video about how to set up an altar. And I kind of explain a lot about altars and how that goes. So you can do that. You can check it out. The message for today is just give God another day. Hang in there with your battle. I know the battle is feeling like it's fierce. I know it feels like it's tough. I know it feels like the challenges feel insurmountable. I know it's draining. I know your energy feels like it's being depleted. Just walk your walk, one step in front of the other. I know that there's things that you're going to go through and that you're going to feel, and nothing I say is going to change it. You're going to have to keep reminding yourself. You're just going to have to work on it. It is what it is, but I promise you, you're going to get to a point, if you trust the journey and you trust the process, you are going to get to the point where you're just going to feel in your heart. You're just going to know. You're just going to know that everything is not going to be okay, but that it is okay and you're fine. So I'm going to read. It says, accept where you are at this moment in time. Only then can you begin to move forward. Be clear about your intentions. This makes it easier for us and the universe to help you. Doors will open unexpectedly. Be ready. It takes from a place of manifestation. from a place of peace for you to manifest. So that is one of the things that you have to do, is find yourself in a state of peace. 2 other cards came up, so I'm going to read these cards as well. It says, perhaps you are reminded all too often just how quickly the phases in your life can shift. One change after another, you're learning to adapt and grow. Be kind and gentle with yourself. The adaptation happens on its own. It's not even something that you actively do, it just happens. And the last one says, those difficult times will pass. Nothing bad lasts forever. The sun will shine again. The birds will sing and the clouds will clear, and you will be glad you kept moving forward. You will soon be rewarded for your patience. Hold on, you are far stronger than you think. These shifts will happen whether or not you like it, as long as you keep going forward with your process. God knows when you've truly learned a lesson. God knows when you are ready. And trust me, you get ready randomly. You randomly come to a point where you just wake up one day. Even the people around you that are ascending with you, they come to a point of evolution with you. Listen, I feel like even my cats ascended with me. I'm not even joking. I truly feel like my cat, anybody that's with you, enduring with you, my cats have gone through the spell work too. Anybody that has put in the fight with you, that has done the work, that has done the Christ walk, I feel like they ascend. They ascend with you. And, it just is what it is. Hold on. Let's see what card we got. Malachite. So the crystal of the day is malachite. I read crystals of the day, and this is what it looks like. It's a beautiful green stone. It used to be one of my favorite stones, and it's the crystal of personal transformation. It's an emotional healer. Breaking outward patterns and unwanted ties, especially with people who drain your emotional energy and previous partners. Malachite releases toxic emotions and inhibitions, encouraging free expression of feelings. The release of a previously repressed emotion can induce a catharsis and require additional stones, such as smoky quartz, to calm the situation. Malachite alleviates shyness and supports friendships. The stone strengthens the ability to process information, helping to understand difficult concepts. On the body, it deals with muscular and immune systems, joints, optic nerves, DNA, cellular structure, liver, and pain receptors. And in the spirit, it cleanses the spirit, attunes to the angelic realm, strengthens intuition and insight. This is malachite. If that sounds like something that you would be interested in, I definitely would get the crystal. I, for one, am one who I read about crystals and then I'm like, I definitely need that one. Actually, there's another crystal here that I would want to read about as well. Unakite, and this is the crystal of recuperation and recovery. And this is what it looks like. And Unakite is it's dis-ease diagnosis. Gridded in the environment, Unakite radiates a gentle calming energy that negates the effect of electric and magnetic field pollution and other disturbances. This supportive stone overcomes insomnia, assists healthy pregnancies, and strengthens hair and skin. Unakite is particularly healthy for recovering your strength after serious illness. Unakite reveals the root cause of disease and blockages, whether arising in the distant or near past, bringing them to the surface for transformation and release. It provides grounding when needed, especially after meditation or psychic work. In the mind, it stabilizes emotions, encourages compromise, and aids visualization. And in the spirit, it facilitates rebirth, assists past life healing, and strengthens psychic vision. That is my message of the day. Thank you guys for hanging in there. Especially, I know it's not easy to hang in there when the video is lagging like this. However, thank you for hanging